It's like I drop my head down into the game and I look up and it's been hour and a half to 2 hours. I mean, I wasn't finished with the game, but I was like, are you kidding me? I was that engrossed with it. I just kept going, oh, I want to check this place out. Ooh, I want to check this place out. Ooh, I want to discover this. I want to talk to this person. Ooh, I want to break this door down. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dice Odyssey. I'm Kaz, and today we're going to be doing a Kickstarter preview of this game, Joan of Arc, Time of Legends Destinies in the Joan of Arc universe. Now, it's done by Mythic and Lucky Duck Games. Now, Mythic Games are the ones that designed the Joan of Arc game that came out recently, and that's something I've been wanting to try myself. Just haven't gotten around to it yet, but I'm intrigued by the universe, you know, and if you know anything about it, it basically takes place, I forget the exact time frame, I think it's 12 to 1400, sometime in that area. And basically what people thought, like, you know, monsters and different kinds of evils were real, you know, they were rumors that were passed around and people thought they were seeing things. That probably still happens today. They become real in this game. So if people thought there's a werewolf, there probably is a werewolf, you know. And you're set in this universe where you're having to explore the universe as one of the different characters in the game. Each one of them has their own destiny to fulfill, and that means that the storylines are going to change a little bit depending on the character you choose. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you over to the table, show you just a little bit of how the game plays. I'm not going to go through everything because I don't know what's going to end up in the final product, because this is a pre-production preview, and so I'm only going to be able to show you just so much, right, because I don't want to spoil anything, but then I'll get back to my final thoughts on it. To start with, you can choose from one of 3 different heroes in this particular scenario. If you look at the back of each Destiny card, each character is going to have their own backstory.
It was a Christmas Eve. You won't.
Now, the voice acting is superb, but we're going to go ahead and choose a character now. As you can see, you have the mayor, the herbalist, and the deserter. And on each skill level, they have different markers that can be placed. So let's choose the mayor. And what you'll now do is you'll place his skill tokens on each particular spot of intelligence, dexterity, and power. As you can see, each character's got differences in each one of those. The game will then tell you how to set up the board. And on the table, your board will end up looking like this. Now at this point, you could go ahead and explore different areas of the map. For example, you have the inn, the abandoned house, and the blacksmith. You could go talk to the blacksmith. Now you've got a number of choices. It'll allow you to buy equipment. You could steal something from the blacksmith. You could ask the blacksmith about something, ask to forge a silver dagger by using silver from something, or you could donate silver. Now if you use the buy equipment, it'll allow you to set up a market where you can purchase more gear and items for your quest. If you decide to steal something from the blacksmith, let's just say we did that, you'll now perform a skill check according to dexterity. You see the green icon here. When you roll the dice, you go ahead and decide whether or not you're going to add any effort dice with it. You can choose to add all 3 or as many as you like, or none. Basically, when you roll the dice, you add up the numbers of your successes, and then you look at the skill markers according to that skill check. Now you see on dexterity, you have a marker at 4 and 8 to start the game with the mayor. Now you'll have opportunities to gain more of these as you go, but let's say you roll the dice, and you ended up with 5 total on the main dice, and then on the effort dice, you got an extra 3. Right there, that would give you a completed value of 8. Now you would take that number and you would look and see how many successes, 8 or lower, that you've actually got. And this goes according to the number of skill tokens you have on the line. In this case, we have 2, so that means you would gain 2 successes. Now let's pretend that you had rolled this symbol instead with an extra die. This is an automatic success, so in this case you would not have 2 anymore, you'd have 3 successes total. So you'd log those successes into the app, and then you would find out if whether or not you would succeed. If you had any item cards you wanted to ask someone about, you could go ahead and pick a card up and see if anything useful comes from that encounter. Once you're done with a particular encounter, you would go ahead and end your turn, and look, sometimes you'll have a random event come up. Now, in a multiplayer game, the next person in line would be able to take their character and do things as well. Now, when you've actually expended effort dice, they're not allowed to be re-rolled until they are refreshed on your next turn, and typically you only get to refresh one per turn. Your main dice can always be re-rolled. Well, what happens if you want to go ahead and explore a little bit? You can pick an area that's darkened to explore, and then the game will tell you to set up that area of the map as well. Now, we're not going to proceed any further with the actual app in that regard, because we don't want to spoil the game. But there are going to be instances where you're able to gain experience points. You'll be able to fight different kinds of creatures, and you'll be able to upgrade your character as you go. Spending experience points allows you to gain more skill levels on your tracker. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few of the item cards. You could gain a horse. This will allow you to not only get +1 movement always as a passive ability, but it'll also allow you to add a number 7 skill point to your skill tracker. You can gain herbs. It's a discard item, but you're allowed to add +4 to your roll sum. You can gain a silver sword. This allows you to gain a number 5 skill point on your power track and a number 11 on your intelligence track, and so on and so forth. Without spoiling too much more, that is in general how you're going to play Time of Legends Destinies. Let's go ahead and get back to my final thoughts. I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit of the pros and cons I noticed about the game, and then it's your decision whether or not you want to go and back this on Kickstarter. Number one, while it is competitive, this is a game that I had fun even playing on a solo basis, okay? I am not a huge solo game fan. I say this in a lot of videos, as a matter of fact. Interestingly enough, I've been doing more solo stuff, but that's just neither here nor there. But the fact is, that's not something that normally draws me into a game. Most solo games I play, I sit down with it, I try to get through it, and it's just harder for me to get engaged with it because I guess I just need some kind of a hook, like a good story, and that's what this has. Now, granted, I only played one scenario, but you can play with multiple characters if you want to keep going back through, right? And depending on the character you choose, each one's going to react to different kinds of situations differently, and that's cool. I like that. I like the idea that not everyone's the same and everybody is able to do things differently. And in this game, the story had me engaged from minute one. And in this particular story, people have an idea that there's a werewolf around hurting and killing people, and you're basically trying to figure out the mystery behind it, and you're trying to do different things to get there. And it's got a lot of our little RPG-like, elements to it, especially building your character up, collecting items to help you on your quest. Depending on who you're playing, that could change up again. Everything's kind of branched out a little bit as you go. That doesn't necessarily mean every little thing in the game was extraordinarily well written, but it is highly engaging. It keeps you interested the entire time you play it. Another pro I saw was the competitive nature of it. Now, some people may or may not like that. It just depends, but it's not like overtly mean towards anybody. And especially when you're rolling the dice for the skill checks and you tend to fail one at times, or you don't get as much as you need necessarily, well, a lot of times your turn's going to end and then the next person might have exactly what they need to get that thing done. And the ultimate goal is to get your destiny fulfilled before the other person does, right? And that's pretty much the goal of the game. I didn't think that was going to work that well. I honestly went into this kind of skeptical, but it actually worked pretty well. And it definitely changes itself up from Chronicles of Crime, because in that, you're pretty much cooperating the entire time from scenario to scenario. Another pro that I like were the item cards, and some of my favorites, and there's just a few of them, but some of my favorites, for example, were the Ritual Mask. And in this, in every test, instead of rolling your dice, you may set them to show 1 and 4. So I found myself at different points in the game where I was like rolling, 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. This helped me tremendously on one particular scenario. And I think it's when I was playing the Deserter, this helped me out tremendously because my die rolls weren't being that good to me at times, and I was able to set them the way I wanted to. And this is a passive ability, so it's just ongoing, Another pro I really liked was being able to do the exploration aspect of the game, okay? Having the app assist you was just like peanut butter and jelly. It really was. It made for a very, very smooth experience. It was not fiddly, at least I didn't think it was. Being able to open up more parts of the map, because when you first start out, they're going to be blocked out. They're flipped over and darkened. So you kind of have an idea what's coming. It gives you kind of a semblance. Should I go over here? This looks interesting. The world was alive around us, If I'd be in one area of the map, if I opened it up, well, the next thing I know, it might something might trigger in the game that says, hey, by the way, while you're doing this, this person is over here leading a hunt somewhere, or a priest is, talking to the people, or whatever there was in the game. There were things going on around you, and typically they were temporary, right? So if they say, hey, if you go to this part of the map, you can meet this person, or this person's leading a hunt at this specific spot, you may want to try to make your way over there to try to talk to them or interact with the characters that might be there. And that was so intriguing. And it was just, it draws you deeper and deeper into the game as you go, and you want to complete this quest. You want to find out what is going on in the story. It's your choice. You could go here and if something's happening over here, you don't have to go and interact with whatever the app's trying to tell you is happening over there. You could stay where you are and continue searching. And I don't know. I love the freedom it felt like. Maybe it's more restrictive than I think, but it didn't feel that restrictive. Another pro that I liked was gaining experience. Again, that's a little bit of that RPG element, gaining experience. And the cool thing was you could actually use that experience to upgrade your character more in terms of skill sets. Another pro was, just like I said, the world feeling alive, being able to talk to different characters out there on the board, and you can scan different artifacts or items and get them talking to you about things. Heck, you could even steal something from the blacksmith if you wanted to. And another thing I thought was going to happen was I was going to be more scanning, kind of like Chronicles of Crime. But in this game, you're not doing that as much. You're more interacting with the map. Yes, you are, probably half the time using the app, but it's not for scanning every single thing in sight. A lot of the times it's just interacting with people, not scanning, right? Interacting, and then dealing with things on the board as the app tells you to, depending on what happens with your choices. And that was really cool. The fact that they're also talking about getting a scenario editor for the community, like the gaming community, to create your own scenarios. And I suppose you turn those into them and they kind of push them into the game somehow. I just love that. Were there any cons that I was noticing? It depends on the person, I think. Really, the game, when it says it's like 2 hours or more, they ain't lying. This game will draw out. And I don't know. I think for a solo experience, because I did try this solo as well, it doesn't bother me that much because it's just me and I'm not on any major schedule that I can't work with. But when you got friends together, you really have to figure out if that's going to be something y'all are going to press into. So again, just keep that in mind. It is a longer game. It just is. Another possible con is, while one of my all-time favorite elements in the game is story-based narrative, I have to really, really, really be in a proper mood to enjoy myself with it. I have to be in that kind of mood. And I know that's kind of a given. I get that. But this is what I would call maybe one of those kind of mood games. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just for me. It might not be so much for you. But this is not one I would want to play every day. Just being honest with you. It does require a bit more of your kind of mental faculties of engagement. You know what I mean? But on the flip side, if they keep making stories the way that they've made this particular scenario, I'm all in, because I love the deep, immersive nature of this. Okay, so it's kind of like a double-edged sword on that particular con, but again, the cons are kind of subjective as it is anyway. That one was a little bit more of a personal one for me. Now, I might say something a little controversial here, but I think I tended to prefer this a little bit more on the solo side. That's crazy to me. I'm not a solo gamer by any stretch, not compared to some anyway. But I found myself loving like Chronicles of Crime solo. I like it with a lot of people too. I like having discussions. And of course that's cooperative. And I did like this in the competitive nature. That's fine, But I think I like going through the story on my own and just discovering things on my own at my own pace. And if you're that type of person who likes something like that, the narrative, with the narrative opening up at your own pace and you going in and doing things on your own time, you might actually enjoy this just for that nature alone. If you're a solo gamer, this game is made for you. This is your bread and butter. I'm not a solo gamer, and I say that, This is the type of game that could convert me into a solo gamer. I'm just being honest with you. It's like I drop my head down into the game, and I look up, and it's been an hour and a half to 2 hours. I mean, I wasn't finished with the game, but I was like, are you kidding me? Was that engrossed with it? I just kept going, oh, I want to check this place out. Ooh, I want to check this place out. Ooh, I want to discover this. I want to talk to this person. Ooh, I want to break this door down. Oh, I don't have a key. Let me try this skill check on it, see if I can break it down. I was doing things like that, and it just kept me engaged the whole time. That's the game in a nutshell. It's an engaging, immersive experience, and yeah, frankly, I'm blown away by it in that regard. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the Dice Odyssey today. I hope you have a blessed day, and game away. This video is brought to you by Fallen Dominion Studios. Check out their website at fallendominionstudios.com.